Alright, welcome back to another episode of my weekly series where every single week I buy 10 shares of... Yep, still doing that. Alright, quick favor before we dive in. If you enjoy weekly stock updates, long-term investing, and following this experiment in real time, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and maybe drop a comment with your take on the stock this week. It helps a lot more than you think. And now let's get into this week's update. So, it's already been number 3 of this weekly episode type of thing. And yeah, I think to start this weekly series, we are going to look at your recent comments about PayPal stock and maybe your sentiment on the stock as well. So, got another comment saying, "Buying way too high, brother. This is going straight to $37. We'll get there by summer." And someone replying saying, $37, even 0% growth in free cash flow with 10% and 2% terminal growth is already $60, let alone packs. Why not share how did you get $37 with no more reply. Yeah, and I think this pretty much sums up the sentiment about PayPal quite well. There's two different camps when it comes to PayPal stock. Those that are basically saying the stock is done for, indicating that it's going lower and lower, or just being very stagnant in the future. And then there's also the type of people who are rather bullish on the stock, including me, ranging from Super Bowls saying the stock can go up to $300 or $400 or even $500, and those saying it's a decent investment for the next couple of years. And now we shall have a look at the meme of the week. I found this to be quite fitting, how it feels being a PayPal investor last week, since PayPal dipped quite a bit, marking one of the recent lows, and more importantly, a very emotional number being under the $60 mark. So these are my buys for the recent week and my entire buy history of 2025 so far. I bought 10 stocks early December for $61.73 each. Then 1 week later, 10 more stocks for $60.50. And then one more week later, which was a few days ago, for $59.67. Overall, I'm quite happy with my purchases. I think I went in for a very cheap price, even considering the share price is currently trading lower than my initial purchases. I still think at these prices, PayPal is a huge buy with great opportunities and very moderate risk, considering the price I'm able to pick up the stock for. So personally, I think everything under $70 is a no-brainer in terms of buying the stock. So if you can get a position under $70, I personally will take it anytime, and I'm not even considering anything else when it gets to that. If it's higher than $70, I'm at least putting some thought into it. Still a bargain, honestly. And once we reach the $80 mark, that's where I'm starting to put a bit more thought into it, considering price action in regards to future growth, prospects, etc. But honestly, the company is buying back so many of their own stocks every single year, every single month, you could say. It's a huge percentage. So basically, the few stocks you're buying, they get even more attractive since you're comparably owning even more of the company with each passing day, you could say. So I like those odds. It's very amazing, and considering the stock in itself is already valued rather cheaply, it's not a super cheap company. Like it's not criminally cheap. It is quite cheap. It is super cheap, you could say, especially for an American company in this sort of sector. But yeah, even under or even by European standards, the company is rather cheap. And considering how much business advantage, know-how, etc. PayPal has, I think it's a huge bargain. Like it's a no-brainer. Yeah, next slide. Let's have a look at the PayPal price action. So here's basically another picture of when I bought and the total amount I invested so far. The only new thing you can get from this is that we own 30 stocks total and spent $1,819 so far. Basically just a different view from the former slide, so nothing too important. Yeah, this is the important thing. The price in this episode. PayPal closed on Friday at $59.81, which is rather low for the week. We had another negative week, and yeah, I think going under 60 is something that's yeah, isn't too good for some investors, since it's a very fundamental mark. Lots of frustration happening here, and you can see that there are many investors who are going frustrated of the stock. So going below 60 once more just leads to frustration and even desperation for some people. I've heard from quite a lot of people that they are liquidating their remaining stock, that they have basically given up on the stock on PayPal. And I disagree with that, but I can certainly understand that there are many people who have been disappointed with this price action, maybe disappointed with some messages or some things that were said by some of the leading figures of the PayPal team. As I said, disagree, but I can see where most of these people are coming from. I can understand why some of these people are frustrated. I can certainly understand that there's a lot of people who are selling their stock, especially considering what has happened in the recent week. So, or even the recent weeks, you could say. So I agree, but in that way, but I wouldn't do the same thing. I disagree with what they did, and I wouldn't do so myself. Personally, I think it's much better to hold to your stock if you've really done your research and are completely sure in what you did before, because if you did, then you should especially hold stock like this in desperate times. Even though there are several other stocks who've performed way better in the recent year, you should always keep in mind that past price action is no guarantee for future price action. So if you've invested in stock B and stock B went down 50% over the past year and stock A went up 100%, then selling stock B now and now investing in stock A basically doesn't really say anything, doesn't mean anything, because sure, it could mean that stock A is going up and up and up and increasing another 100%, but it could also be that it just doesn't move at all, or even goes lower, minus 50%, and then maybe stock B or option B is trading way up. Yeah, it's random, you can't really tell. It could also be that stock B is going down even further. That's entirely possible, in this case PayPal. However, that's why doing your research is so important, and especially doing your own research is so important. Don't let your mind be influenced whatever person online says to you. You can take that into consideration, and you can take that as a point in your list of things on why to invest or not to invest, but it should always come down to your own research, your own arguments, your own mind. And once you can comfortably and confidently do that, you're basically taking way less risks and are much more confident in your decisions, and then it doesn't really matter in the short run if the stock goes down or up, because if it goes down, great, you can buy cheaper, you can accumulate even more, and if it goes up, that's great as well. since your portfolio is gaining value. Either way, you can only win when you're really confident in your stock picks, and it basically is the opposite when you're not confident, because when it goes down you feel like you need to sell everything, and when it goes up you feel like you need to buy even more, which may lead to a bigger loss when it goes down eventually. So that's just my take on the recent price action and the sentiment in regards to the stock. Let's have a look at the historical stock price, and yeah, basically the change in the weekly and total stock price of PayPal. On a weekly basis we lost 2.65%, which is quite a bit, considering that PayPal has already gone down and down and down in recent weeks. I think this looks more like a temporary thing, maybe something we have to hold out for until the end of December, since there are many tax related cuts in portfolios. Like, some people want to realize some gains, and in order to realize some gains you usually realize some losses as well, which usually happens with bad stocks, which PayPal certainly is a part of this year. So what some people do is they sell some of their bad stocks, then some of their good stocks, to realize gains and not have to pay taxes, which certainly makes sense, but that also leads to some more pressure for stocks like PayPal for the end of the year. Yeah, just saying that it might be a rocky road ahead for a few more days at least, and then hopefully starting next year we are only going up in the future. Yeah, the change is another 10 stocks. I bought 10 more stocks of PayPal this week. Nothing new here, just the usual. And total percent change since the start of the series is -4%. Our gains are not as bad, since we basically followed an averaging strategy. We did DCA into the stock, so we profit off of the stock going lower, since we are getting in for cheaper. So our losses are lower too in this case. So let's have a look at the net worth of the portfolio. In the former slides, I think I've shown you I invested like $1,819 or something, and the total loss so far is $24.70. So now we basically lost the entirety of our gains. And yeah, that leads to us having the first loss for this series. No big deal, very low numbers, but as you can see, yeah, compares to the gains we've made before, though unrealized, the numbers is the highest so far. So yeah, that's something noteworthy. And we get to a new slide for this episode, which I've started doing now, which is the expected dividends for the stock. So far, PayPal has paid one quarterly dividend so far, which is 14 cents. We haven't received it since the stock wasn't owned by us when the ex-dividend date happened. So we haven't received any kind of dividend so far. However, I feel like it's cool to make some sort of projections and see where we currently stand when it comes to the quarterly, yearly, or even monthly dividend, at least when we average these things out. And first we had 10 shares, expecting a quarterly dividend of $1.4, which is a yearly dividend of $5.6. However, now, or actually that's like 47 cents per month if you break it down. But now, after buying 2 more times, 10 stocks each, we are already at an expected quarterly dividend of $4.20, which is a projected yearly dividend of $16.80, and a projected monthly dividend of $1.40, which is already quite high. Like we already broke through the $1 mark, and I'm really curious to see where we end up. in the very future, in like maybe a year or 2 years from now. I'm very curious to see if PayPal raises their dividend, when they raise it, if they raise it, and I'm definitely going to be very I'm very interested in the future of the dividends that PayPal is going to be paying in the future. So that's something new for this episode. Naturally, we will also cover the dividends received once that happens, but that's a thing for the future. Now, let's get to the most important part, which is the news. And let's just start with what the stock did and give you guys some context for the week, in case you haven't paid too much attention. I slightly dove into this before, but basically from the daily price history, PayPal traded roughly in the low 60s, and now they've been trading down to the high 50s during this window, with a notable slide onto basically December 18th and December 19th, for example. I think they were around 61, 66 on December the 12th. And a couple of days later, December 19th, they were at 59.81. So that's definitely quite notable when you compare the total price action. Nothing huge, but something to keep in mind of. Now, big company catalyst for the future. Very bullish long term. Rather neutral or even slightly bearish short term. Basically, there's a big news for PayPal on this week, which is that they announced that they have submitted an application to establish the PayPal Bank. I think it's a proposed Utah-chartered industrial loan company, and they filed it with the Utah Department of Financial Institutions. So this could matter for the stock since it has strategic upside. It's a greater control over small business lending, potential to reduce reliance on partners, and definitely the ability to offer additional products, for example, savings. So definitely very bullish for the long future. Multiple outlets positioned this as part of a broader trend of fintechs pursuing charters in a friendly regulatory environment. And I personally think that the PayPal Bank in itself makes a lot of sense, since it just feeds very well into their future, into their risk management, and basically lots of upside with no real downside long-term wise. However, in the short term, you should know that other banks have no real interest in PayPal becoming a bank themselves. It's just another competitor in the market, and a quite big one at that. So not sure if that's too great for the short-term PayPal stock price action. However, as I don't really care all that much about the short term with the stock, for me there's only upside since it's going for the long term. We'll see if the application is going to be accepted or not. I'm expecting this to be a process of at least like 2 to 3 years, maybe even longer. It really depends. Historically speaking, there's been processes that took many years, and there's been ones that only took I think 2 years or so. So it really depends. Nothing huge for the current timeline, but if you look at the PayPal vision for 2030, this could be huge for that. So nothing huge right now, but something to keep in mind of for the future. One of the many things that are positive long term, if given they do it as if they as they advertise, which in case of PayPal isn't always the case. Next news, the pressure from analysts rises up once again, because many more analysts have downgraded PayPal from overweight to neutral to underweight, or even some gave them a sell rating. I think in this case it was Morgan Stanley, James Fawcett, if I remember correctly, he downgraded the stock PayPal to underweight, and they cut the price target from $74 to $51, which is completely crazy to me. Makes no sense in my mind, but yeah, I'm not really here to judge that sort of opinion. If I remember correctly, Morgan Stanley argued that the PayPal branded checkout improvements or integrations have been slow and very complex, and that they haven't delivered or yet delivered enough traction, implying that there's going to be a continued share loss and or pricing pressure. And I certainly do agree, it's not wrong what they are saying. It has been slow and complex. Given the legacy of PayPal code has been more complex than expected, so changes haven't been able to be made as quick. And it really hasn't caught all that much traction, that's all true. And maybe, yeah, there's more pricing pressure too, that's correct as well. But like, given that the PayPal company is growing, they are making more money, more sales, more earnings, more everything basically, it doesn't really make sense to put such an aggressive cut in terms of share price at the stock. Since if you consider PayPal under fundamental values, the stock at like $65 more or less is already priced to no growth at all. Like at that price point, even if PayPal doesn't grow at all, it's quite fairly priced, even a little bit underpriced, you could say, especially considering the high cash flows. Now putting like slashing the stock price target from $74 to $51 doesn't really make much sense in this regard. Same for the next reason. They are basically very skeptical about the Venmo monetization and putting out continued doubts about how quickly Venmo becomes more meaningful a profit engine, which also makes like no sense to me. Venmo becoming more profitable, making more money, it's a very good thing for PayPal. It's a very bullish thing for PayPal. It's like a hugely bullish thing. And doubting the speed at which it becomes more meaningful doesn't mean it's bearish. It's more like a slightly less super bullish type of thing, which I don't agree with at all, seeing how fast Venmo has been growing in the past. So yeah, it doesn't really make any sense to me. And seeing how the Venmo growth rates really haven't been priced into the PayPal company, in my opinion, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if you had like a price target of $150 and you would cut it to $140, I could agree with that, but like cutting the price from $74 to $51 with this reason makes no sense to me at all. Then they marked the agentic commerce as a risk for PayPal, saying that the longer-term competitive risk from AI-driven commerce flows, basically buyers using AI agents, where PayPal's role isn't guaranteed. And this is something that's true for sure, 100%. But once again, it doesn't really make much sense. I don't really see it. Certainly, this could be a thing in the future, but that's a very hypothetical thing, a very theoretical thing, and I don't think that in the past things have developed in this way. I personally think PayPal is going to adapt, PayPal is going to be used in agentic commerce as well. So far they have positioned very, very well in this market. They've gained some sort of first mover advantage. So right now it looks like the opposite of what Morgan Stanley is saying is happening. If they've said something like this 2 years ago, I maybe could have agreed in a way, because there were no clear signs so far, but seeing how PayPal is positioning this well into this market, I have to disagree greatly. Sure, like if you look 10 or 20 or 50 years from now, you have no idea what's going to happen. That's a thing way into the future. You can't really tell anything right now, and there's lots of people who are not using AI, who are not using agentic commerce. Basically, a legacy type of user base is always going to remain. It's like Facebook, for example. Nobody under the age of 30 is really using it, or is really using it regularly. I think it's like just like a couple percent at most. But still, Facebook still has a huge user base. Basically, lots of boomers are using them, some millennials too. So, not really a point of concern in my mind. I don't think from one day to another everyone is going to switch to agentic commerce and that's going to be it. I disagree once again. That is going to happen. New generations will make use of agentic commerce way more than older generations. However, PayPal is positioned there quite well. Great company in that regard. And it could be the opposite, that PayPal gobbles up huge market share in that market. And that could lead to PayPal growing in that market in the future. We'll have to see. We can't really tell right now. It really depends on the leadership with PayPal, and yeah, it's something to be determined. Can't really tell so far. Then something more important, Kramer. On like the news, he pulled up the PayPal stock and basically said something along the lines of, I had to look that up. Yeah, that stock is going lower, maybe much lower, a melting ice cube, quote. So he basically agrees with the analyst's target and said it's a good piece and relates to the Morgan Stanley article. I greatly have to disagree once again, and this could be something very, very bullish for the stock. I'm not quite sure if you've ever heard about the inverted Kramer type of investors, basically people doing the opposite of what Kramer says, and yeah, getting huge great gains in the stock market. I'm just putting this out there. You can always do your own research on this and make your own mind, but personally I'm not a huge fan of Kramer either. I think he's basically just saying what has happened in the past and projects that as into the future, which is what most analysts do as well. Once again, I disagree. The very negative news that has been put there in the recent days and weeks basically is just running behind the already downwards PayPal move. So it's very insignificant in my mind, and it's rather the opposite, basically telling me that we've almost hit the lows with the PayPal stock. Can't really tell where the low is, but I don't think it's that much further. Like, I don't think we see another 20 or 30% price decrease. Maybe another 5 to 10%, but it really depends on the next weeks. I think starting January we were already starting to see the new upward move in anticipation of the new quarterly results, you could say. So just leaving this out here for you to make your own mind. Could be bullish for you, could be bearish, depending on your mind on Kramer. Then last but not least, the CFO Jamie, aka the Tank Miller, exercised about 12,004 shares yesterday and disposed of about 6,129 shares for tax purposes. Once again, several leadership positions with PayPal have been seen disposing of shares, not just recently, but like very regularly, you could say. doesn't really mean much. It's neither bullish nor bearish. You can see this happen with stocks that have been going up and up and up, like Palantir, for example, and you've also seen it with stocks going lower and lower. With share-based compensation companies like PayPal, this doesn't really have to mean anything. Like, them selling doesn't really mean much, and then them buying doesn't really mean all that much either. Sure, it's a better sign to see leadership buying positions with PayPal, but seeing them dispose of stocks doesn't really mean anything either. It's not exactly bullish, of course, but it's rather neutral, I would say. You can interpret it as bearish for sure, but I personally have a neutral stance on it, except there's no share-based compensation, which isn't the case for PayPal. PayPal has quite the generous share-based compensation for its team, so seeing the team cash in their shares isn't exactly bullish, bearish, or anything else. It's basically just a neutral thing going on, which I see it as it is. I take it into account, but that's basically it. Anyway, that's it for this episode of the PayPal Weekly. Glad to see you tuning in, even for the third episode so far. If you want to make me to continue this show and continue watching me on this ride for the future, on this journey, then feel free to subscribe to my channel so I can continue doing this little thing and have you join me on this journey. That's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment in the comments. As always, I'll try to put it into the next video, and then I hope you come by and stick to the show. Have a good day and goodbye.